From Quasar Markets Live, you have your host, Howard Hondo Greenberg. And like every day, hopefully, I'm here with my main man, Steve Big Beat, or the CEO and founder of Quasar Markets. How are we doing today, Steven?
I'm good, Hondo. I'm good. I think the anticipation of tomorrow is a little high right now.
It is, as you know, I've been curious of a few things this morning when it comes to that. Number one is, man, what disagreements right now between 25 basis points and 50 basis points. And I don't know why there's not more volatility in the market. We'll talk a little bit more about that this morning. But what are you thinking? I mean, I'm firmly in that 25 basis point camp is the proper move and the move I think they're going to make. Where are you at right now?
Yeah, I think the fact that anybody's arguing for 50 is wrong because, quite frankly, most of the time, by the time they even get to the meeting today, the 2 day meeting, right,
Yep.
they'll release the actual numbers tomorrow. But it's been telegraphed. That's what they do. The Fed here is very, while I did disagree with how fast they did it, and when they're doing it, they were wrong. They're behind the curve. Sorry, Minister,
Absolutely.
you're absolutely wrong. And now you're being told by the U.S. Senate that you're wrong. But when you say 25 basis points, that's right. That's about where it should be. Start to lower them. And when they do that, when they start, they're not going to stop. But for some people to come out and say, oh, no, it's 50 basis points, now you're saying the economy is bad. And some, including three senators, sent a letter to them saying 75 basis points, but that
I
would
saw
upset the
that.
market, right? And you're not seeing that. If you saw that, you will buy the VIX. Now, listen, let's go back to our good friend Scott Bauer tells you buy the VIX when you need to, buy insurance when you can, not when you have to. When you see the VIX this low, that's when you buy insurance. Think about it for your house and your cars and your boats when you buy insurance, right? You like buying insurance when it's super high or when it's super low, right? But you want to buy it when it's super low. So when then you do need to use it, you're paid the less to get the most. That's what Fix does for you. So
Right.
it's a good time.
And as you know, I asked some questions this morning because Scott is the guy that is the master of the VIX and all that is there in yourself. And I was asking, A, why is that was moving down? Now it's moved up a little bit here in the last hour, but why it was moving down? It was under 17 at that point. I think it was at 1683. We all sort of agree that 20 is about the neutral at this point. So we're at saying it's going to be less than normal volatility. But meanwhile, no one's agreeing. When I say nobody, is it's not just you and I that are saying 25 basis points. When the market seems to be pricing in 50, is BlackRock came out, Barclays came out. Yesterday we talked about Stanley Druckenmiller came out and said, guys, what were you not watching when we had 9% inflation and they only went up 25 basis points then? What is the world isn't falling, and I'm going to get into some of the economic questions I have because we know housing has been such a drain on inflation right now, right? It's been one of the major parts. The other thing that I was watching today and looking at was auto. That's not in a much better case because again, most people take loans to buy a car. That rate is 7.1% right now for a new car. I my head almost exploded when I just saw that today because I'm thinking, my last car I got zero. So 7, 11.3 for used cars. And the other thing that's blowing me away is the normalcy of a $700 monthly car payment. The average right now is 737. Again, I guess this is where I'm a boomer. I just look at it and my head explodes. And then the average amount they're borrowing is 41K. Is that the next bubble? Is my question to you. Is that, you know, I think we've seen food inflation come down. Gas is definitely helping us, right?
Yep.
That's the one that is definitely putting it in the right direction. Is this though where why there's this sort of fight? Is that some people are looking at some of these sectors and saying, "Man, it's going to take a lot, not just 25 basis point, to move that 7.1% auto loan to the where we're going to need it to make it affordable and move those needles." And we've seen car sales outside of GM, and they've had some outside news that moved theirs. The other car markets, as you talked about, Ford's been in the toilet. Stellantis lives in the toilet. And that's the case. So that's where I want to ask you: is that where the difference between recession maybe and softer
Hmm.
landing.
Well, one thing that I saw today was retail sales were up. You don't normally see that in a recession. Recessions obviously are when the GDP comes down in consecutive months. We are seeing that the GDP is slowing down, and that's because of what you just said. We've been talking about it for a while, right? Cars, housing. These are things that are normal things. And when you look at the price of coffee, um, closing in on all-time highs again. Arabica coffee itself has gone up. Coffee futures have come down a bit, but Arabica, buying the actual coffee itself, is not cheap. That affects Starbucks. That
Right.
affects McDonald's. That affects all those companies that produce coffee. And people drink coffee everywhere. These are main staples in what we eat and drink. And look, when those prices go up, and when you're seeing um, young people coming in wanting to buy a home, and they're stunned by this rate, and they are stunned by the price of buying a house. My parents are laughing. They're like, well, we bought our first home at 15 and 16%, right?
Right.
Um, when you look at it, the homes were priced correctly. They're not priced correctly anymore, right? They're way
That's the
out of league.
disconnect.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing that there aren't homes to buy. When they are, they're getting snapped up very quickly. And the speed of which companies like D.R. Horton and Pulte are building these new homes is just crazy. We've talked about this, and here it is coming to a head now. And these are the things that the Fed are talking about. It's not just Main Street talking about this. I guarantee you, they're sitting around that table going, people are hurting a little bit. Job losses are starting and they're picking up. Can't buy a home, it's too expensive and the rates are too high. Let's give them a break. Let's lower it a little bit. Well, what do we lower? Do we lower 25, 50, or do we listen to Warren saying 75? No,
Right.
we don't listen
Right.
to Warren, and we don't listen to
Please.
50, right? We don't want to upset the apple cart. We want a steady hand. And I think, as much as I bang on the Fed, I think the Fed chair has done a pretty damn good job of keeping a steady hand. Not a good job at when, but in saying, hey, look, we see what's going on. We're listening. We're taking it. We're taking it all in. We're listening to Main Street, and they're missing some points, obviously, because they sit in their ivory towers. But the truth is, they're actually going to do it, and they're going to do it the right way. And it's with 25 basis points. It's not going to be 50. It's not going to be 75. But by the time December rolls around, it may damn well be 75. By that time, it may be 25, 25, 25. Just
Right.
now, September, and in November, and in December.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could see that. It leads me to a lot of the stuff that I have notes on today because it really all ties into this: who's holding money, who's not holding money, what are they doing with money, and all that. Because another thing that we're seeing is we know bad debt's moving up, and when I say bad debt, that's why I started looking at those auto loans and some other things, because what we're seeing is credit card debt is rising and rising a lot as a lot of the other avenues to get cash is drying up, whether it be the higher car rates, so people are having to use more of their savings, which is leading to more credit card debts. As we've seen the banks like Ally and SoFi get hit with reports from regulators, hey, you're giving too many risky loans, so they've cut back. And we're now seeing home equity loans are also rising, and that's a little concerning too because, if you're refinancing a home loan right now, you're doing that at a higher rate than you were. That means you're really in a bad shape, right? So that has me a little concerned. And then we look at our boy Warren Buffett, and it just got announced today that he's probably over 300 billion in cash holdings right now. So that is
$300 billion. I think that a lot of people don't really understand because that number is just so damn big. So let me put this into perspective. The market capitalization of Walt Disney, of all of Walt Disney, Star Wars, the Disney parks, ESPN, all of it, ABC, is 166 billion. He could buy two Disneys,
yeah,
okay, with just writing a check. That's how much cash he has on hand. That's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, and the other thing, when you put that into context, Apple holds about 153 billion. I was looking up numbers today. I dove into numbers for some reason. I was in that mood. And Google's holding about 101 billion. But if you look at their outstanding debt, multitudes are higher than Berkshire's. So, they have a reason that they're holding than that. Like you said with him, he has even less of a reason for that. The other thing I noticed is, he's really slowing down his buybacks. And I watched an interview that he gave a few days ago where he made it clear. I think my stock's overvalued right now. I don't buy a stock if I think it's overvalued. And it shows the numbers. I was wondering again, I was like, what does that actually mean? And first quarter, they did 2.6 billion in buybacks. He only did 345 million last quarter.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he's piling cash. He's stacking cash. He's not
yeah,
stacking.
but it also shows you something to all of our sort of newer traders that if you've got a thesis, you stick to that thesis. He even does it for his own stock. That was something really kind of hit me like a sledgehammer when I was reading that. Hey, I'm not buying my stock if it's overvalued. All I'm going to do is start a bad cycle because I'll buy it. It will go up. Someone sees I bought it, then it goes up more. Now I'm more overvalued.
Well,
So
by the time you buy Berkshire Hathaway, he's already done his move, right?
oh
He
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
he's got a special deal with them. But I will the government. I will say this much. I just looked over and Intel INTC, the market capitalization of Intel is $90 billion. Wow, he could buy 4 Intels and 2 Disneys. It's like, what do you want? And these are companies in the down. I mean, these are strong
Huge, yeah,
companies.
yeah. I
And
mean,
when you look at it from that perspective, and he doesn't like tech companies, and he likes companies that make cash. Wow, he could literally buy Walt Disney. I think that would be an amazing place for him to buy. And he says he doesn't buy companies he doesn't understand. And he's actually, I know he's got a little bit out of that with Apple a little bit. But I will say that he is looking for cash cow companies. What does that mean? These are companies that, okay, maybe aren't doing the best right now, but know how to make cash. He can clean them up, put his good teams in there, make them a machine again, and go crazy. He is not one of those activist investors. He doesn't do that. He doesn't go try to put people on the board. He just goes and tries to buy the company out, and does it right.
right.
And he's like
And they
Uncle
take him
Warren.
with open arms. He doesn't usually have a fight, anyways.
I
And like
mean,
you said, he does a lot in consumer staples,
right.
durables. He does things that people use that they have to have. Where I don't think he's caught up is you have to have tech. I think he is catching up and realizing and putting it more into his portfolio. But I do think that is part of the game. You mentioned Intel, a lot of news there. You have always been a guy that's talked up Intel as sort of undervalued when it came to that chip sector. And now we're seeing some stuff here. The CEO Pat Gelsinger came out and he said that they're going to split off sort of their foundry, but not split it off. They're going to treat their foundry, which is their manufacturing where they do it for other people. They're going to actually treat that as its own business. And it's big news because a big complaint had been, and where they had lost market share, and where, as you know, I was talking to some people in our groups this morning about how TMCS and, Taiwan and how Samsung make a lot of their money because they make chips for other people. And
Right.
what we're seeing is Intel got a big deal from Amazon yesterday to build their chips for their cloud computing because of this change. So, something I thought was a really big change and really puts them on par with TSMC and Samsung, which is a big deal. We knew they had the Pentagon contracts already. That. They got the chips deal where they're going to build now. So now they're saying, okay, we're building all these foundries, we're building all these new plants, but now we're going to go after this business. I think that's a huge change for Intel. Love it, personally.
When you look at biochip sector, for myself, the one thing I always look at is, can that company actually produce it? Can that company, when they make it, can they reproduce it? The one thing Intel's got is that they have the distribution. They know once they make that chip that they know how to get it out there. A lot of chipset companies, they may make a great product. They may even go after NVIDIA, but you can't have if you don't have distribution, you really don't have anything, and you're really at the mercy of the world here. And Intel is no longer. I've said this for the last. I'm almost beating the desk. Intel is probably the best buy out there because it's cheap. They've made mistakes, and that's the best place to be. Right when a company makes mistakes, they know it. They're going to correct, and they're going to fix that problem. I mean, if you look at a weekly chart on Intel, you will
Sorry, I
see
just took
go
them
all
off
the way back.
chart here.
This was a $60 stock back in 2021 during COVID. It was a
Right.
$60 stock. Right today, it's a $20 stock. No way is this thing. It's undervalued. You have to go back to. I'm looking at it now, 2014 and 2016. That's crazy to me. And now they've got a chipset where they are partnering with Amazon. If I look at Amazon, Amazon right now is worth $2 trillion.
Okay.
So they can buy Intel. If that chipset looks good, why don't they just buy Intel? That to me is the kind of stuff that I would be looking at, right? Intel right now, Intel's this is what we've talked about forever, M&A, right? This is what I'm saying about M&A. Right now, the market cap of Intel is 86 billion dollars. All right, give or take, because today it's up a little bit again. 86 billion dollars. Amazon could buy them. You know,
Right. Yeah.
industrial production now coming out at 0.8%. We expected 0.2%. So we're seeing a lot of these numbers are coming out. Look, things are not that bad. Politics is making us feel like the world is that bad. There's a lot of malaise out there. There's a lot of disinformation. We've seen one political side pushing out the narrative that just the world is going to hell in a handbasket. It's not. It's not on our side of the pond, shall we say.
Right. And
Um,
I
there,
think we've seen both sides actually pushing that narrative. That, and just pointing fingers at each other. In other words, the left sort of says, hey, the reason that anything is broken right now is because either DJT broke it back 4 years ago so badly that it hasn't been able to be fixed, or that it's because the Republican Senate and won't pass what we need. So, I think that's been both sides. I was watching that a little bit of CNBC this morning because they had an interesting thing where I was very happy to hear both sides sort of agree that neither Janet Yellen or Gary Gensler will be in office after the new election, that they wouldn't pass confirmation for
they are
either
finished.
way.
They are
So,
finished.
that
And,
made
and I
that made my day personally.
add
I know you
add
need
Lena
Linda.
Carr to that list.
I was just about to say, I know that you threw that in. And I want to take a quick step back to something that you said. M&A, like you said, I just saw Ernst Young came out with a report yesterday, and they're forecasting a 21% increase in deals that are over $100 million. That's sort of like the benchmark for is it a big deal or not a big deal. And another 18% increase in that in 2025. So do you think that, will the interest rate, is that going to help that? Because some companies do borrow to do these, they don't borrow the way we go to a bank. But will that help this M&A like you've seen?
Whenever you lower the rates, the interest rates come down. Usually, the bond market has to go out there and sell their bonds. Yes, I think it's going to help a lot of places, right? And I'll tell you, the biggest place is going to help and we're seeing that now is corporations. Here's a good example of this. Out walking Bailey, my dog, yesterday, and my neighbor says to me, I really kind of want to go back to the office. I'm tired of sitting tired of sitting at home at least 3 days a week. I want to see people again. Guess what? We're going to see that. And when you do that, right now, real estate in the commercial real estate business is still pretty low right now. And I'm going to talk about that with Michael
Yeah,
Litt.
most major companies under 50%. In most major cities, under 50% still there. It's like you're teeing me up for everything I have here. So just following up with that M&A thing. Yeah, because I got you. We're coming back to that in a second. But M&A, I want to stay on for one more second because I loved in their report, though. I thought I was reading a crypto report. They said that FOMO by CEOs right now is part of leading to this M&A, is that the same way that I used to get a million calls a day, back in 2020 about blockchain, and every company wanted to put blockchain into their systems, and they didn't know what the hell it was, but they needed it.
Right.
It's the same thing that every CEO is rushing out and saying to their tech CTO, we need AI. And that doesn't matter if the business has anything to do with AI or anything else. So they said that that actually has a little bit to do with this. I also thought it was interesting because these numbers are really playing out. Through August, we've had 258 billion in these deals over 100 million versus last year for the entire year only 268 billion. So we're
Yeah, but
almost
this
at the
is
full
playing
level.
out. This is playing out a lot like in the internet in the early days, that corporations were running out to implement internet into their system. They didn't really know what the internet was at the time, but they knew they had to do it, right? They knew they had to implement blockchain, right? They didn't know what to do to implement with it. This is different. Now the speed of technology is coming so fast, they're rushing to put AI in it. Every company, every person, every animal on the planet is going to need AI because it's just going to be part of our life. It's the next evolution. It's the next tech revolution that's going to take us to the next level. When you look at times in history that have moved us forward, it's because of innovation, right? One of the things with clothing in the 1800s wasn't until the cotton gin was made. Oh, we got to have a cotton gin. Why? Because, well, quite frankly, it picks cotton faster, right? So that we can get more to market, so that the people can have better clothing, so they can spend more time investing in other things. The same thing is happening here. I'm trying to break it down to make it a lot easier. But when the internet came around, it made it a lot easier to book reservations for planes for travel. It made it easier to see sports scores and all kinds of things. Think about it now. We don't even think about that today. When the internet goes down, and even my father gets nuts, right? So
Yeah.
when you fast forward AI, is to make our lives more efficient, so that in the future we're thinking about other things and building better technology. You don't think that's happening? Then ask Amazon and Intel today why they're collaborating with a chipset to make it a lot easier. Look, when I look to buy something, I don't want to have to go through 5,000. If I want a hammer, I don't want to look at 5,000 hammers. I want to know which hammer is the best for me based on what I need the hammer for, and that's what the AI is going to do. The AI is going to be saying, look, here's what they get the good reviews. This is the one that people are using in your area. See, this is the one that you're building a house. This is the best hammer for that house, and this is the piece. And then you're narrowed it down to 5. Well, that took all that time it took me to get to 5 is now done in seconds, as opposed to a long time. So I think people don't understand how we're going to put AI into it, but we're going to be living in AI, and we're not even going to know it.
You have nailed it. I'll tell you, as you know, I'm a host for the U.S. FinTech awards that are out right now, and I'm going through the submissions, and it's ridiculous. They got so many submissions, it blew away what they normally get. But like you said, it's these areas where AI is coming in for CFOs. I saw this great program platform that CFOs use that just, and they had people on from like Domino's explaining how it's helping Domino's. Like you just don't get there. Like until you see this, like you said, it really opened my eyes to all the different ways that AI, and I thought I had a good feel for what it's doing and how it's going to do it. But the way it's going in, yeah, you saw the algorithmic trading type fintechs, the quant, all that stuff. I knew that was coming. But it was these other aspects of auto filling in, generative AI being used to speed up processes in accounts payable, accounts
Yep.
receivable. I know because my wife is in accounts receivable for a huge, company, the Cook's company. And, when it comes to like paying bills, there's like 6 people that look at a damn bill before they pay it. Well, I was looking at these fintech. That isn't going to be like I warned her, hey, babes, you better learn about this part of the business because in a couple of
I'm going to
years
tell you right
you're
now.
going to
I've been talking
overseas.
about it for a while. How our accountants are going to be a thing of the past eventually.
Yeah, just watching it, we were given the ability to look into some of these programs and see how they work and all this, with this program, and blown away by, like, again, what a person, you're looking at a screen and it's got 17,000 transactions going visually in front of you, and only 4 of them are getting flagged. They talked about it's 99% of the like matching, for invoice pay at Domino's is getting done now through automation. And that used to be like 4 hours of the CFO's day. Never mind the people below them was reconciling these things on a daily basis. And now it's all automated. So just blew me away. Okay, let's get back into the market because we are 5 minutes away here. SPY right now is up about zero point 0.4 of a point here in the pre-market hours. QQQ 0.58, so tech seeing a little bit of a bounce back here. I will say Intel is helping to lead that up 4.54%. But we are seeing most of the major players. Tesla's up almost a point. Nvidia up over a point. My question to you: do you think this lasts? Yesterday we saw this pre-market. All those techs were looking good, but they weren't able to sort of hold on. What are you thinking today?
This is not a day that I'm in the market. I wasn't in the market very much yesterday. I just played Boeing for a little bit. I'm just going to sit on my hands somewhat today. If I see a play out there and I see a quick move, yeah, great. But I'm not playing this for tomorrow. There's too much misnomers out there. I still believe it's 25 basis points. Nothing going to change there. But why put your money at risk for something you don't know? And I'm not doing that. So, yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, going into that, a couple of things you've talked about or we've talked about this morning. DXY, right? Something you're watching closely today. I, as you know, watch that for a little bit of a different reason because it's so important to Bitcoin's price. Is there a key level you're looking if we fall below here that you
Yeah,
think
totally.
we start?
Great question. Earlier today, you saw 100.568 right there. 100.5 is about where there's, you can see you testing that down there. I'll tell you, if we go below 100, watch out below.
Okay, well, you heard that from Steve. For me, that would be a great sign, and we're seeing it already play out a little bit in Bitcoin, up about almost 2 points here, getting up above 59 again. Good to see that on Bitcoin. As we talked about, right now we're seeing some strength there. With all the sell-offs, whether it be Mt. Gox, whether it been government of Germany, government of the
Yeah.
U.S. selling off, ETF selling off. Michael Saylor is buying. We're seeing more like it. I saw a Bitcoin mining company yesterday that is, I'm going to go over later with Charlie Moon today, is actually changing from being a Bitcoin mining company to being a cloud provider, a data center provider with all of their infrastructure. And guess what they're going to do instead? They're going to buy Bitcoin in the same way that
Sure.
MicroStrategy is doing and try to build up their coffers that way. And you know why they
First,
said it?
first you make fun of them. Second, then you try to pound on them, and then third you join them. Right? Uh, it's like
Yeah, and that was a big takeaway for me because Friday I did my in-depth thing on Bitcoin mining companies, and I actually think that a bunch of them are ready to bounce back. So I was surprised by this move. I will say it's not one of the main players. I don't want to give away all the stuff before the 1 o'clock hour, but it is a player, and it's a different way to look at it. I do think, and I'm going to talk to Charlie more about. Does he think that we're going to see more companies put Bitcoin on their ledgers?
yes, the
And
answer.
I definitely think we are going to see that. We're seeing it, in the hedge fund and private wealth areas through the use of the ETFs. I think we're going to see it through the ETF use, where it makes it a little easier for some companies to do it, and I think we're going to see it more in the other. 2 minutes
We were
from opening here. Any particular things you're looking at today, Steve?
Yeah, if you go in your platform for the institutional news, I'll tell you right now, Howard, I just saw it. We've been talking about it. Cheesecake Factory's weakness says Argus that it's a buying opportunity, CAKE. We talked about that this week already, and last week too, that these restaurants, these higher quality restaurants, are going to be someplace where to buy. And I'm going to talk about that in Schwab next week, actually, about these weight loss programs, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, and some of the problems that they have, and why I think the future is very bright for this. But Cheesecake Factory, they're calling it a total buy here. This is a buying opportunity at Argus. So this morning, so that's
Up
probably
1.9 on that news. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of upgrades and stuff today. Shopify was one that I was looking at. Redburn gave them an upgrade. Let me get to the right page here because I got these all loaded in already. Palantir. We've talked about Palantir a lot since they made the S&P, and now they're getting another upgrade. And the bigger one there is Bank of America said they put it in their top, like, you must have list. They have like their top 10 or something, so of the stocks that you have to hold. They put Palantir in there, and up 1.79% on that news. We are open here. We are open. Let's see what we have going on.
We'll switch over to Boeing here a little bit. Watch Boeing a little bit.
I'll pull Boeing up here. Boeing's up about 0.76 here this morning. Their news has just not been positive. They're run through in about $1 billion already due to the loss there, but we are seeing a little bit of a movement up here. Tesla pumping here up 1.83. I don't like the way this is looking, Steve. This was the beginning of last week where we see that pump off the beginning. Either that or did it. Whoa! Look at Tesla 2. It's running. Now up 2%.
Nvidia's up about 1.7% here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing a pop here in the Nasdaq here a little bit.
Broadcom getting some love. Qualcomm. So chip sector definitely getting some love so far this morning. Retail holding up pretty well too. Nordstrom's here up 0.93.
There's just nothing here that I'm really going excited about just yet. Be prepared for a little bit of a sell-off here.
What is the tick looking like, Steve?
Yeah, it's flat. Down on 97, down 121. So there's really not much here yet.
So it doesn't look like legs so far. Gold
Apple's
and
still
silver
slipping here a bit.
down. Bitcoin 59,300. Let's take
Oil now 69.26, so it's not much there either.
PLCE that I brought up, Children's Place, yesterday as a possible one to keep an eye on, up 6% here this morning. It did retrace pretty hard yesterday.
Yeah, Boeing is trying here.
The other one still getting love today, Steve, is that GE Verona we talked about on the open yesterday. Up about 3.68 today after a nice move up yesterday. So it's seen about a 10% move in 2 days.
Oh, dang.
MBLY, the one that I brought up in our Slack channel earlier this morning, an Israeli autonomous driving that was mentioned in Intel, up 5.25% here on the open. Now losing a little bit of that momentum.
I did buy a little bit of Boeing here, not much, but some Boeing here. It just seems to be easy here.
Yeah, okay. Microsoft up about almost 2%. They did announce that they're going to boost their dividends by 10%.
Oh, there we go.
$60 billion in stock buybacks also announced by Microsoft.
And I have just taken profit on Boeing there.
Whoa, that was quick. I didn't even have time to pull up the chart. I can tell you, look at that bottom right, that 3 minute where Steve did that. That's a nice move up from 156, 157.92. Still trying to push. This broke 150.
It is, but I took that money
running there. Yeah, in this type of market, as we have always said, locking in profits. Now there's something you worry about.
Nasdaq dropping. I had a feeling that this was going to happen.
Tesla now up 3%.
Take that money and run when you got it. When it puts it in your hands, you take it.
Yeah. Tesla trying to run here today, Steve. I haven't seen really any news there.
IBM still pushing 218.22 there. Yeah.
There.
Any move that's been made here has already been put. Alibaba up 2.27%.
I had that on my notes to talk about. China Baidu was up also nicely this morning in pre-market hours, 1.95 right now. So yeah, Chinese e-commerce seems to be getting a little bit of a bid today. I didn't check my.
So much for that Intel pop there. Still slipping a bit. Nasdaq is dropping pretty quickly here. VIX is jumpy.
VIX has moved up. I mean, it was at 1653 when I asked that question earlier this morning. Now it's 1727. That's a pretty big move there. Tesla losing momentum back, only up 2.3%. So again, when we see that, right off the bat, 9:30, it's only 9:35. We see that huge move by these things on open. We've seen it get sold off pretty quick. It seems like people are willing to take profit and hold a little bit of that money until they see the next opportunity. Molson up 3% today. Molson Coors, that's an interesting one to be up that much. Yeah, Timu's up almost a point two here. So retail getting a little bit of a run.
We're seeing the Nasdaq now slipping down lows today here. Probably we'll go. I think we'll go negative today.
That's the view I gave, as you know, off the start. I do think that we are going to see a little bit of negativity. I think we'll get a pump here. I think we'll see a fight off, and I think we'll see an afternoon sell off like we've seen. Whoops, I'm using the wrong one. There we go. Taking a look at the U.S. market movers here. Oh, one of our favorite pumpers, Wheeler, WHLR. I know Charlie Moon had talked to us last week about that. Moving up here this morning, up about 37%.
New York Community Bank, that's NYCB now, 3.3%. Banks are looking, the regional banks look much better there. NYCB was almost a receivership not too long ago with the former Secretary of the Treasury under Trump went out and bought it.
Wheeler is pumping. Both Democrats and Republicans favor raising federal minimum wage. Do you know the federal minimum wage is only $7.25?
It is. It's terrible. I don't know anybody making that kind of money.
No, and I mean, even here in Ohio, it's 15.
Yeah, we're seeing more selling here going in. I think we go negative here. Dow's only up 97 points here, 96 points. I think we go negative.
Small cap index pumping up a little bit here.
Good old Russell.
Yeah, the 2000. The rut. That's really been pumping here over the last 2 days. Silver trying to go positive on the day. Bitcoin battling above 59. Oil, Steve, we're seeing there that it's back up above 70 here as some of the Mexico ones come back online in the Gulf. Anything else you've seen? I know you are the oil man. Anything you've seen there?
No, not really. There's a
back. Do you think that jump had to do with some reloading into the SPR? Getting us from that 65 back to that 70?
It could be. I had not seen any SPR buying.
Cocoa down a little bit today, Steve. Nvidia continuing to see a little bit of a drop here from highs of the day.
Now, remember that we're not the only country that has an SPR. There are other countries, and I'm reading like a week ago that China was probably buying oil for their SPR.
That's a great point. I makes all the sense in the world, but I really hadn't. Again, I talk about that when it comes to banking and finance, that we get a very U.S.-centric view a lot of times people have. Yeah, that's where I definitely had one there. Steve, some interesting things I saw announced from Walmart and Target showing that, the trade down effect that we're seeing retailers talk about. As Walmart unveiled their top toys list, 25 of theirs are going to be below 25. and Target has announced that half of its toys on the shelf will be less than 20 this year. So we're
Wow.
seeing a little bit of a trade down in that price point across these major retailers. So I
Yeah,
thought that that was,
that sets it up for holiday spending, huh?
yeah, and we'll see it first. Target has announced they're going to do their October Circle Week, October 6th to the 12th. I have noticed they've definitely been front running Amazon's, Prime Days the last couple of sessions here. So that will be when we'll start to see if that is going. But I thought, with a 4-year-old, I was happy to see that personally, as it will make it a lot easier to fill up those Christmas wish list that she have that go page after page. So I was interested in seeing that. Um, we talked a little bit earlier. You teed it up for me, but we had to step away from that. Amazon talked about how they are now going to force their employees back into the office 5 days a week,
Yeah.
starting at the beginning of the year. The other thing I thought was interesting there that their new CEO Jassy had mentioned was that they felt they were getting away from where they were a startup company, and now that they're so big, and they're actually one of the few companies they're looking to decrease the amount of managers over frontline employees by about 15%, and part of that was from feedback where managers and frontline employees felt that their voices weren't getting heard enough because there were so many layers in there. So I thought that was an interesting one, bringing people back in, but at the same time cutting down on the management layers.
We're seeing some selling here. Probably going to hit Nasdaq here. Nvidia is getting just
That's what I have on the screen right here. Yeah, you can see last
uh,
12, 15 minutes, Nvidia had been at a high of the day about 118.80. Now down at 117.74. I'm seeing that across a bunch of the different stocks here, Steve, like you mentioned, where we're now down towards the bottom of trading ranges. Well, after taking that quick pump up, you can see it on Boeing. It pumped up to 158.10. Now back to
right.
156.17.
Yeah,
So again,
yeah. We're seeing
let's
drop
see.
now. Bitcoin right below the 59,000 handle again. That hit 59.5. I mean, we're dropped about 500 points. It's nothing's holding here.
Seeing, of course, a lot of volume across Nvidia,
There you go. There's
Tesla,
the drop. We're getting some.
Microsoft, Boeing getting sold off, continuing here. Nasdaq getting hit again here. Market's trying to hold up a little bit here with 15 minutes into the
Boeing,
day.
Boeing still slipping here.
Bitcoin sliding below 59 also here as we're looking. A couple other things I saw this morning. Polster, PSNY, actually got good news. They have satisfied requirements to stay in the NASDAQ. They had been notified on July 5th that they had not maintained that dollar rate for the 30 days prior to that. And it's trading pretty well above that, towards almost the $2 range now. So it was good to see that. On the bad side, Steve, I'd ask you a little bit more about this because it's a steel maker, NUE. They,
Mm.
reported that they're not going to hit third quarter profits. That they're seeing not only lower prices for their steel, but that they're also seeing less volume going out, less demand. They're down
Well, I
about
mean,
one
when you look at
percentile.
Nucor, you have to ask the question, who do they make steel for? And that's big buildings. They are a huge steel maker, by the way. They're not a small company. They're worth 33 billion, or 1/10 of the pile of cash that Warren Buffett has.
Is that how we're going to
Um,
measure everything moving
I
forward?
think we should measure by how much cash Warren has. The truth of the matter is, we have a few companies like that, AK Steel. Um, we have a lot of steel companies. Steel companies need to come together here in this country. They need to start merging a little bit, because they need to protect themselves. Because we're not building. We need to be building bridges, and we need to put that infrastructure to good use. We know that the infrastructure bill got passed. We know that the lot of that money that people are working on now, but it's cost us, in the deficit. Right now, you can see that these steel companies are hurting right now. So, no, and when you look at it from that perspective, where is steel made? It's made in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh, right? Steelers.
Right.
Um, and guess what? Well, what we have in November is an election. So there's a lot of geopolitical going on around steel right now. So steel is not a place I would be investing in. No.
Okay. I did also notice in that Target news today that they announced they are going to hire about 100K holiday workers, which is right on par to where they were about last year. So not much of a change there. We do at 10 o'clock today also have business inventories for July, capital utilization, and home builder confidence. I'll be watching that home builder confidence one. Because I did see one of the major HVAC suppliers to these companies said that they're actually seeing a decrease in their orders recently. So a little bit different than what we've been hearing from the builders and seeing, where they, like you said, and I see here in Ohio, they're all over the place building, building, building.
And you look at today's news. I mean, look, the bond auction is coming out at 1 o'clock today. You got a 10-20 coming out. You don't think the Fed's gonna be watching that? Fed's gonna be watching that. So if it's a terrible bond auction, that could affect what the Fed says too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there is a few pieces of data left for them to make their decision. Although we're both feeling that 25 basis points is where we'll come in here. Bitcoin trying to get back above
I'm
59.
liking this move here on Nvidia here. Might take a swing here at Nvidia here.
So Nvidia right now about 117.24, up about zero point 0.4.
14.
Just regained the VWAP on the 3 minute.
117.17. And I'm not doing anything special. I'm not playing options. I'm just buying stock and selling stock, the good old fashioned way, right? So, yeah, see, I think I missed it here. I think Hondo here, maybe.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up. I don't
All
know.
right, so I'm in here. Just went at market. I bought it at 117.30. So we'll see if I was wrong. Take a quick swing at it.
On the 3 minute,
There we go. We're seeing Bitcoin jumping now, and we're seeing Nasdaq jumping. So I had a feeling that might have been the bottom there.
Okay. Apple actually positive for the day now. I'm seeing here. Here we go. Your Nvidia's got to get through this bottom of the VWAP here, the VWAP range. Got rejected there.
I think we'll turn around here on the MACD pretty quickly here. Maybe I'm wrong a little bit, but took a small swing here.
Amazon up 2 points, so that's helping the indices. Back up almost 0.66 on NASDAQ, so we are seeing a little bit of buying kick in. So this is a little different than what we saw.
I'm doubling down here. 117.12 looks like. Yep. So. So 117.21 is where I'm at. We just broke below the 117 handle here. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of selling here, but
a little slow here. Oof.
And get back above the 117 where we should be good. Should be pushing right back. There we go.
Still going here.
There we go.
VIX is at the high of the day here at 1726. Beverage companies looking good today, Steve. Brown-Forman, Constellation, Duckhorn, Molson, all up today. So we are seeing a little bit of buying going on.
Oh. A little bit of a drop there.
Like we say, it doesn't go straight up, Steve.
Well, I have an order in to sell it. So we'll see. I have a limit order that can go.
Trying to go
Come on,
117
baby.
again. Looks like small caps leading the day so far. Like I said, the RUT, which is the Russell's Index of 2,000 small cap companies, is leading the indices that I'm looking at up 0.77. Nvidia, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta, sort of out of that magnificent seven, is giving us a little bit of that. Pretty much responsible for most of the Nasdaq's move up here. Tell you what, on the run, if
there we go. Just a few more pennies there in Nvidia, and I'll be out.
Let's watch that with you here. It's fighting for you. Let's see here. What's the DXY doing?
Come on. Getting right into the 10 o'clock hour when it starts to slow down.
Slow down. Dixie's still raising, almost at the highs of the day here.
Yeah.
That's keeping Bitcoin from breaking back to that 59. It looks like so far.
So Nvidia couldn't hold up there. Nasdaq couldn't hold, maybe. That's.
I mean, Nvidia got back above 117. Just needs to stay above that. Give a bounce for you off of that.
Yeah, we're seeing Bitcoin trying to push up a good here.
Yeah.
Spot gold 25.78 now an ounce.
Silver's gone positive on the day. It had been at a negative.
So I'm saying, keep your eye on silver. It'll tell you everything you need to know.
RUT trying to get up to almost a point for the day. I don't think any of the pre-market pumpers are moving here.
The MACD is trying to break up for.
PLCE up now 9.25%. So PLCE, which is the Children's Place, trying to move up.
SMCI for the first time is actually, I think they're trying to hold in the green. Oh man, Nvidia just can't hold today.
I did see SMCI got a couple of analysts that at least put them at neutral here, where they had been under so much negative pressure.
Nasdaq just cannot hold here.
Here's one for you, CB. BurgerFi, who had announced bankruptcy a few days ago, is our new Wall Street Bets play of the day. If I had a look here.
Oh my God, BurgerFi.
See that pump? Yeah, BurgerFi. There was one right by my house in Silver Spring, up 105% here this morning. You know, on 133 million shares moving so far today, when the average is 6.65 on an average day. So crazy. So people, we saw that with Bed Bath and Beyond, right? We saw it with a bunch of different ones during COVID, where you get the Wall Street Bets folks trying to resuscitate a dying brand. Also seeing a pump here out of GLMD, Globe. I'm not familiar with that one. Galmed Pharmaceuticals. That one actually looks like it's trying to run here. Anybody looking for a fun one to watch here? GLMD, seeing the hourly chart after making its move at 4 a.m. It had a big pump up, retraced about 70%, probably right close to that 78. Here, I'll bring it up.
Here we go. It's in the pump here in NVIDIA. Let's get it. Can we get it? Tick is still down about 330, so there's still a little bit of a push back against it, but we'll see. 22,
Yeah,
25.
Pull back almost right to that 7866 level on the fib here as Galmed jumps back up. That one, if it can break back above the higher of the day, 770, you could see a run here towards $10 on Galmed.
Might take that limit order off. It might pop here. We're about 5 minutes here till 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Hour.
I'm not seeing a whole bunch of... Oh, look at Delta moving up today. 3.18. 3.2 now.
When you got lower gas jet fuel prices,
We
you know.
talked about that yesterday. Look at that. That went from the bottom of the hourly linear regression right to the top. Man. That is a move. That's a, look at that. Delta holding the linear regression like a champ on every chart. Amazon holding on up 0.1171 still. Your Disney's up 1.38 here this morning, Steve.
Been up quite nicely the last few days. You know the world's slow when CNBC is talking about Falcons and Eagles game. That was 2 days ago.
No, that was last night. That was the Monday night game. Like, no, that was the Monday night. I guess, Steve, I should, as we're getting ready to head out here, talk a little bit about Donald Trump's.
Come on, NVIDIA. Come on. Here we go. See? Hanging out with Big Beat. We're going to get it right here. Pretty close to my numbers.
733. Donald Trump and his team was out last night talking about their new crypto project. I will just warn people, there are still a lot of red flags involved with the project based upon the team that is creating it. And I would just beware.
I just tell them don't buy it. I don't tell people to buy and sell, but that's just nonsense.
Yeah, that's what I was trying not to say was saying is just, this is one that I would really keep my hands out of. QQQ just not catching the bid yet here, up about 0.4.
Need about 4 pennies to go. 2 pennies to go and I'm out. 4 pennies, 5 pennies. There it is. And I look like I am out of my... I'm out. There it is, NVIDIA. You saw it twice today.
There you go.
Right here, I made money on Boeing and NVIDIA. I didn't go crazy. I bought dips and I sold the rips. So it's not hard.
Sounds like my favorite podcast with Charlie Moon. We'll be doing that today at 1 o'clock. Dips to rips here on Quasar Markets Live. So that's a great way for us to maybe move our way out of the day here, Steve. Is you hitting that trade in the perfect line
twice
there?
Two trades.
2 trades, yeah. And yesterday's you're 3 for 3 so far for those that are keeping track. As we head out of here at the 10 o'clock hour, we see QQQ still sliding a little bit here. Bitcoin unable to regain that 59 so far. That's really the price I'll be looking at there. Tesla holding up nicely though, up 2.4%. Intel up almost 2%. We've been talking about them all morning.
And Dow's about to go negative. I called that this morning. I think we go negative today.
You did. And we do see that some of these are turning negative here in the retail sector as I go through the watch list. So that is going to do it for myself and Stephen Big Beat, or I will be back at 1 o'clock with Charlie Moon. We also have a special showing. Jeremy Vreeland from Bullish Bulls and Matthew Tuttle, who do their weekly watch list that we broadcast here, have a special segment going out today. They don't normally, so we will have that for you. They normally go on around 11:30. So look for that in your Quasar Live section there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jeremy Vreeland and Bullish Bears. I think that they do a great job over there.
Yeah, and Jeremy, a great guy. Him and Matthew break it down. They've been on a roll lately. If you've been watching their segments. Okay, again for Quasar Markets Live, this is Howard Greenberg and Stephen Orr. We'll see you later today. Thank you so much.